Hey guys, welcome back to the Canada Puck Podcast, your weekly, bi-weekly, we'll see what happens, recap of what's going on in the world of sports, specifically hockey, and even more specifically Canada, just like the name implies. I'm your co-host, Mick. You can find me on Twitter at ProfitMick, and I'm joined every episode by my lovely and talented co-host,
Grant, on Twitter at Fourth Line Sports. Doesn't feel like winter here, but college football's coming to an end, and that means that it's going to be like just a couple more weeks of NFL, and then it feels like it's like full send hockey. It's like there's no turning back. Right now, it's like a piece of the pie, but soon it's going to be the whole fucking thing. So,
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of still in the season of it doesn't matter what happens. The number of recent occurrences we've seen of just teams cratering before Christmas and then turning it on in the new year and making runs. We can start counting. Like, we might have to pull out two hands to count all those teams, right? So definitely teams aren't dead. The guys are out in front. We might see teams crumple. So still lots up in the air, right? So it's, still just kind of good time to like get your toes in it and just enjoy kind of good ice product, as I like to call it.
Ice product. Sounds like you're a fucking Coke deal.
No, I don't. I got that money back for those tickets. I don't have to sell Coke anymore. So
no more Coke dealing. Well, that's good. Mick's not really the slang and rock type, but
no, too soft. Way too soft.
It immediately takes me to Talladega Nights. Be a nice drug dealer, or no? Yeah, that's Talladega Nights. Like, hey, you want some crack? I'll get a gun. Isn't that not Will Ferrell in Talladega Nights?
Maybe.
I'm gonna be a nice drug dealer.
Yeah, maybe. When he's done, he can't race anymore.
I think he's having this conversation with Amy Adams or Isla Fisher, whichever one it is. It's in the bar, and it's right before like they start making out on the table. Like, hey kids, you want some drugs? Oh man, I gotta rewatch that movie.
It holds up. Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. So this is your first show. Welcome. If you watched before, I'm sorry about the audio last time on the video anyways. Sometimes settings on computers change. I forget to check. It's too bad. So we're back at it. We didn't record last week, so we've got about 2 weeks to recap. We're going to look at all the Canadian teams, run through what their last 2 weeks were, get into a little bit of Puck Doku challenge. That's always fun. And then I think we'll probably end with kind of like some previews of some upcoming games, get you guys ready for some gambling this weekend, and maybe look at some boobs.
Yeah, and a babe of the week. Of course we're going to have a babe of the week.
Oh, and I think we need a hook, too. I was saying about this earlier. I feel like we need a hook at the end of the show if you stay with us, and don't just skip ahead. You got to listen. We're going to give our top 3 Lady Gaga songs, so stay to the end for that.
Oh, wow. This is the cross-marketing promotion we needed.
It's always up there. My brain is there, not always working, but it's always up there. So what we like to do is go to NHL.com and our lovely friends. We'll go to the standings. I'm going to go right to the league, scroll down to the bottom and see. We're going to go fishing for some Canadian teams. I see a Shark. I see a Blackhawk. I see a Wild. And the Senators. Look at that. Still chilling in the basement, Ottawa? Okay, that's unfortunate.
I am ashamed to admit, as a passive / secondary Ottawa Senators fan, how little I've been paying attention to this team this year. I don't know what's going on. But did you catch the mayhem earlier this week when fucking Big Brother Matt was in town?
I did see that. At some point I was on Twitter and I was scrolling and I saw something about 10-minute misconduct. All 10 players on the ice received a 10-minute misconduct in that affair. And
all right, so let's get to fucking, that's really the best part of it. So there'll be no saving the best for last in this segment. That ref call, outstanding. I know that number 4, what the fuck is that guy's name? I know that there's that official who everybody loves. Oh, God, name's escaping me. It'll come to me.
Johnny McHandjob.
Old Johnny McHandjob. Wow, we haven't seen him for a few years. God. Anyways, I'll have to Google it. It'll come to me, or I'll cheat and I'll Google it. I'll figure it out. Anyways, he gets a lot of credit for being like the only ref with personality. And this feels like the first time we got a delivery from a guy who was like not robotic. That was actually just like you could feel the frustration in his tone. Where he's like, you know what? I don't want to fucking explain all this to you dummies who aren't going to understand it. everybody's got 10-minute misconducts, and then he skates away. It's like, oh, God. Great. Outstanding television.
Excellent. So they are bottom of the standings. As I'm looking, though, they have only played 17 games. And as I'm kind of looking at their schedule here on the screen, since the Global Series, when they came back from Sweden on the 18th, that was 11 days ago, Sky. They've played 2 games. They lost to the Islanders, gave up 5 goals, and to the Panthers. Their schedule thickens up a little bit here. They've got 2 games this weekend, so one on the first, on the Friday. They got Columbus, and then they have Seattle. So back-to-back. They just had light schedules. I don't know if that counted as their bye weeks, because they kind of played each week. I don't know why the schedule's light for this team. Is it to do with maybe like the international travel?
That could be, and like I said, I haven't been paying too close attention. Wes McCauley is the guy that everybody likes. Garrett Rank was this guy. Garrett actually is a semi-professional golfer. He's competed on some tours. Anyways, this isn't a ref podcast, so fuck those guys.
Yeah, fuck them. I was a little saddened when I was going through the list. I actually might have missed them on my first pass through the standings, and I couldn't find the Senators, and I was sad to see them at the bottom. I know I said I didn't love the Claude Giroux signing. Thought that was kind of silly. Some of the moves they made, I don't know, a couple summers ago weren't in their favor, but this is not what I wanted. This is the team I wanted to cheer for. I wanted to have fun. What are you guys doing hanging out in the bottoms here? It's nice to see that they have personality and a little, aggressiveness, and Brady Tkachuk isn't just rolling over like some other highly played stars and teams that play in Ontario. But, what's happening to the Senators? Is it just done? Right? Is Deberkamp going to be asking for a trade, walking into the GM's office here? Again, we'll have to dig into it, and nothing's set in stone, but I don't know. Things aren't looking good for the lovely nation's capital.
I'm glad you asked this question, because I actually have a theory on this. Captains set the tone in the locker room. But when you have kind of a loose cannon for a captain who's kind of maturing, I think it kind of sets the wrong tone. And maybe Giroux's not being the guy that they want him to be. But Brady Tkachuk, just doing Brady Tkachuk things. And I love watching that guy play hockey, because he plays so fucking recklessly. Something's going to go sideways almost at least half the time he's on the ice. I enjoy that. But when that's the guy who's setting the tone for the rest of your team, and then that role players are like, well, I've got to one-up Brady, so now I've got to jump Matthew Tkachuk and get suspended indefinitely. So I think that there's a maturing process going on, and I think that if they had somebody who was a little bit more responsible in the room, they might be able to get there a little quicker.
Awesome. I don't know I don't know what the best way to look at this is. Is it injuries? I'm not going to do that on the podcast. Something's going on with the Senators. We will dig into it. Hopefully they turn it around this weekend. They got the lowly Blue Jackets, who've been on a bit of a skid. Seattle could be a bit of a coin toss, so you got to start picking up those wins, though, to turn the season around. Back to the standings. Let's keep fishing for some Canadian teams. How far up do you think we have to go before we get to the Oilers at 28? Oh, my gosh.
Under 3.5. Oh, no. Over 3.5.
Oh, no, it was one spot.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. Yeah, and they don't even have the excuse. They've played 21 games. So the Senators still have 4 games in hand, only back a point of jumping the Oilers. So more than likely they're headed up. The Oilers are just chilling in the basement. What up, Edmonton? And I feel like the Oilers have been hot, so that's a good sign.
This is a good analogy for what Edmonton actually brings as a city. It's kind of really just more of a dumpster, yeah, some people make it out alive, some people don't. It's Edmonton. It kind of feels like the Oilers are embracing that Edmonton mentality, and they're like, yeah, you know what? Fuck it. But I will say this, all sarcasm aside, I will say this. Chris Knobloch, still don't like him as a coach, still think that it's a downgrade from Jay Woodcroft. He has them playing better defensive hockey, and guess what? It's still not making a difference. They blew a 4-2 lead against the Vegas Golden Knights last night. Up 2 in the third at home, those are games where, and everybody's going to look at the rose-colored lenses. They still won in a shootout. The reality check is, don't fucking blow 2-goal leads and in the third period at home. Just don't do it. Find ways to not do it.
Yeah, that's not too bad. It looks very streaky. So last time we talked, I think it was right before the probably around like 17th or something, 16th, 17th. So they lost to Tampa, they lost to Florida, they lost to Carolina. A bit of a hard road trip there. Obviously righted things against Capitals, the Ducks. I don't know if you brag about those ones. And then, yeah, like you mentioned, this game against Vegas, which was on the back-to-back, who had just played a bit of a hard game, went to overtime. Actually, I think it was a shootout against Calgary. So, you don't see that very often, back-to-back shootouts. So, on a 3-game win streak, but when you're coming off a 3-game losing streak, it's kind of just 50-50 hockey at this point, right? So,
this is going to be the time where we're going to look back on the season like end of November, start of December, maybe into January, probably not even that long. But this is going to be the time we look back on as a pivotal point in the Oilers' seasons. Can they get back to 500 and climb back into a playoff spot? Or is this just where the tires start spinning and actually that's it?
They've lost all the tread and they're just stuck in the mud. So looks like they have Winnipeg tomorrow night, and then nothing this weekend until the 6th. So a bit of a break here. Maybe they can write things. Again, I don't know. Is this a bye week? It's just the scheduling seems weird.
I don't get NHL bye weeks, to be honest. I think it's 5 days they get off because it's not a full week.
Okay. So that might be it because they're off from Friday the 1st to the 6th.
But there's also not allowed to do anything. So there can't be any team activity. So basically everybody just gets drunk in Mexico for a week and then comes back and plays hungover.
Cool. Great. That's exactly what you need coming back to play Carolina. Great. Cool. Well then. So write things tomorrow night or it's a long 4 days. So with that in mind, I don't know, if we picked games later, I wanted to talk about a game later, that might be kind of interesting. But by my count, I think we've already fished, we've already caught, we've already found ourselves 2 Canadian teams. That means it's time for the first round of the Canada Puck Doku Challenge. I'm going to pull up today's Puck Doku. Grant, I don't know if you've looked at it.
I fucking mentioned this last time. I'm an immaculate grid guy. I just like immaculate grid. It works for me.
You get more options, you can rack your brain on the basketball and...
Okay. So have you ever tried doing an NFL immaculate grid? It's basically like Mensa. It's a Mensa puzzle. Like
the best I've ever done, I think, is 4.
I don't think I've done anything better. There might have been a time when I got 5, but it was like 10,000 passing yard people.
And like Super Bowl champs on the bottom or something, and you're like, oh, boop, 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 boop. And then it's any other player, and you're like, someone who played for the Vikings and the Colts. And you're like,
oh,
I don't know.
This is where we should have, we should be punter encyclopedias. This is where we can, rather if the Canada podcasting doesn't take off, maybe we should start a punting podcast where we just, talk about all the great punters of history.
We could come after Pat McAfee. Just wear wife beaters and stuff like that, and yell a lot and stand up. Seems to work for that guy. So,
and then shame people for making or missing kicks and offering to pay them money.
Da, da, da. So the way Puck Doku works is we're playing similar to golf. What we're trying to do is we're trying to answer squares, I guess. Today's Puck Doku by Marc Bergevin. God damn it, Marc Bergevin. God damn it. Along the top we have the Canucks, Blue Jackets, and then played for Mike Keenan. I don't know who Mike Keenan is, Grant, so, this is looking good for you. And then on the on the vertical, we got Oilers, Tampa Bay, and Penguins. So, Grant, as the current champion of Puck Doku with your, 0.8 PA Parento poll from a couple weeks ago, well, you can take first dibs. So you got to make a guess, and we're trying to get lowest percentage. So not just answering squares. Similar to golf, we want the lowest score possible.
So I wasn't paying attention. I'm just gonna have to pull this up on my own. I was trying to think of the Blue Bombers punter. I was gonna work in an organic Troy Westwood joke, but I couldn't think of it. So let me just pull it up here.
Okay.
I heard Oilers played for Mike Keenan. That seems a little fucky.
Yeah. What the hell, Marc Bergevin? Why don't you go back to, I don't know, what does Marc Bergevin do? Draft known sex offenders in the first round. Why don't you go back to that, huh?
Oh, God. One name comes to mind looking top middle, so that is Oilers and Columbus. I'm worried it might be popular, but I'm going to say it anyways. Jason Chimera.
Ooh, all right. Jason Chimera. Click. 2%! Oh, that's not bad. That's not bad. That's not bad. All right, for myself, I'm looking at the grid. Is there any, like, obvious ones? No, I don't think that guy played anywhere else. And if he did, I can't tell you. I'm going to go bottom left. I like a Penguin. I like a Canuck. I like me a Cookie Monster. I'm going to go with Mr. Matt Cook. 4%. Damn it, Grant's got me again.
That's Matt Cook. 4%. It seems a little high. I guess what I'm trying to get.
Oh, okay. All right. Is there a more obvious one? Like a Sutter? Wasn't there like a Brendan Sutter or something that played for both of them or something? Brett or something? Sutter. Like, but that's a dangerous one because like you type in SUT, like there's like 70 guys, so and like 5 Bretts. So you got to know exactly like when they were drafted, and it's gonna be
okay. So all-time worst would have been Brendan Sutter. Do you know how many fucking different ways you can spell Brendan? Oh God!
God. And like,
what a fucking disaster!
And like some Sutters are SUT, and then there's double T's, and then there's like an RE, and oh my gosh! But we're gonna go back to fishing for some Canadian teams. Take Puck Doku. Give it a break just for a second. How far up do you think we have to go before we find the next squad? Okay, Columbus, Anaheim. Oh, Montreal Canadiens at 25th. Go Canada. We're really chilling in the basement here. So also 21 games played, so they don't even have like a rest excuse at this point. Montreal Canadiens. What's been going on?
Montreal Canadiens. Again, I haven't been paying super close attention to Montreal, but I did bet on them today, so I did a little bit of a quick look. I'm actually impressed with their goaltending situation. I am impressed, and that is Sam Monbo. Not as shitty as I thought he was.
Okay.
I don't know if that's a good take, a bad take, but when I looked at Sam Monbo, I was like, okay, you have actually given me a reason to bet on you tonight. I was like, I believe that this man could actually make a difference against a low-level team like the Columbus Blue Jackets. But I think when you bump that up to like any team above 25th, 24th in the standings, I don't know if I trust you.
Okay. Well, someone's got to beat the bottom feeders. Yeah, Montreal, I haven't been on my radar. I know you guys are young, scrappy. Martin St. Louis kind of seems like he keeps everyone kind of pointing in the right direction. So since we last spoke, they lost to the Bruins. No surprise there. You beat the Ducks. You beat the Sharks. Good on you. Lose to the Kings. There's nothing like the Kings are flying high right now too, so there's no shame in that. Getting close. I was pretty darn close putting together a shootout ticket tonight, having Montreal, Columbus, so that being tied. I would have played in my favor, but I don't know. We'll see. Good showing from Florida tomorrow night. And then what does kind of the weekend look like? You got Red Wings on Saturday night. That could be a fun little affair, right? And yeah, then we're kind of into next week. Early game against the Kraken. So I'm guessing Seattle's just based on the fact I know they play the Leafs because I've looked ahead, and the Senators. Seattle's on a road trip. So you're maybe getting on the back end of that road trip. So might actually be a pretty solid next couple days for the Les Habitants.
Not atypical. You see it, teams going in either directions. Like, all right, I'm going to check off all 3 Western Canadian teams or all 3 Eastern Canadian teams, and then it's just stupid Winnipeg in the middle where people are like, I'll fit you into a Minnesota road trip or something.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. So nothing more concrete on the Abs. Oh, no. Except I'm surprised the Oilers fan is talking about other teams' goalies.
I've had it. I've honestly fucking had it with this trade chatter. I've had it with Ken Holland. I'm just like, I was trying not to turn this into an Oilers segment. I don't want those shitty fucking goalies. I want a new goalie coach. You know, Christmas is around the corner. If under my Christmas tree is Dustin Schwartz, that's a good sign because that means he's no longer with the Oilers. So maybe that's my Santa. I would like Dustin Schwartz delivered under my tree. And, like, the White family, I hope everybody else gets fire eye or, like, fire pokers. And boy, we're going to have a fucking memorable Christmas.
Well, hopefully Cousin Eddie's staying with you this year, because if you wish loud enough, sometimes wishes could come true.
Are you a big National Lampoons guy?
Kind of, sort of. I don't know. Like, Chevy Chase does get me. Like, he is pretty funny in those films, so, yeah.
I for a guy who's as hated as he is across Hollywood and by the people he works with, you wouldn't know from the films that he produces.
Absolutely not. No, he's delightful. He's charming. Like, I understood probably why he's kind of a pain in the ass, because you probably thought he was a big deal, you know? So.
Yeah. If you're gassing Saturday Night Live because you think you're better than the show, maybe arrogance is on your resume.
Yeah. Cool. All right, so nothing else with the habitants. If my count is correct, that means we have to do one more team before we're allowed to do another Puck Doku guess. Where do we have to go? Seattle. Oh, Calgary, 23rd. What are you guys doing? Why does everyone suck?
So 4 teams in the bottom 10. And
you know what? This actually isn't that atypical for this podcast. Like, there was years where we had, like, 6 teams under 20, and I was like, you know, it's... Like, I'm surprised Vancouver's not down here. I know they're not, but I'm surprised. Calgary Flames. I think they've won a couple games. They were almost in a playoff spot at some point.
I don't know what the hell's going on with Calgary. I think personnel, like the personnel just doesn't fit the system. Because when you look at the individual pieces, Jonathan Huberdeau, granted, he hasn't always been a top producer. Nazem Kadri, I mean, we've seen him shine at times, but he's probably not the number one guy you want to rely on.
Yeah.
It just like, I don't know. The sum of the whole is less than the parts, I would say.
Okay. Yeah, I think that if we're looking at the old guys on this team, kind of the stalwarts, that's probably where we're going to start tripping up. I think we're seeing a bit more of the youth injection, right? So the one benefit to this new kind of coaching or this new management regime, right, from GM to coach, is they're just going to be bringing up pieces in the organization to see what you have, right? A couple of the young guys have been called up recently. I've heard some chatter that, and they're scoring goals. They're providing energy. They're working hard. They're pushing the others on your team, right? So they're kind of, from an organizational point of view, I think trending more in the right direction than a team that Milan Lucic plays 20 minutes a night on, right? So that is like baby steps right now. And then it's just kind of managing what exactly they have, right? The expectations aren't super high with this team, I don't think. So as they kind of skirt in and out of playoff appearances, I mean, the fact that they were in a playoff spot and they're in the bottom of the league, yeah, I guess that math checks out, because we got San Jose and the Oilers and the Ducks and the Kraken and the Flames. Wow, the Pacific is terrible. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's not a happy place to be for a lot of teams.
Can we relegate a whole division? Like, is that a thing? Like, if your division's terrible enough, we should just relegate them out of the league. And you're like, you're only allowed one playoff spot next year. That's an idea.
And truthfully, I would say that's a better idea than the sham of a playoff model we have right now. But I did want to take... Do you remember when it was the Northwest Division and it was like the best division in sports?
Oh, yeah.
It was Oilers, Flames, Avs. Who else was in there?
The Oilers, Flames, Canucks, Avs, and was it the Wild?
Maybe it was the Wild. But there was a time when it was like everybody got up for watching these games. And now it's... I actually couldn't care less.
Yeah, bring in that old Pacific division of just like the bottom feeding teams. Doesn't get you super far, so that's a shame.
As far as Flames go, the other point I wanted to mention, it is kind of fun to see some of these young and up-and-comers get a taste, and I think this is the Flames' best chance at sustainability without a full-fledged teardown and rebuild, is to try and incorporate some of these young guys. I need more Dustin Wolf in my life. This is kind of silly that he's kind of he's not the primary guy, or he's not the priority for youngsters coming up, and that's kind of sad when you look at some of the other guys that they're bringing up. Why don't we get more Dustin Wolf? The team's in town. It's not like it's a huge burden. Dan Vladar started the other night, and no disrespect to Dan Vladar, But this doesn't feel like the right time to give. Maybe it's time to cut Markstrom loose and let Vladar and Wolf shine, or fight and battle it out for something.
Yeah, like my only explanation would be like some type of galaxy brain moment where Craig Conroy, their GM, is trying to like raise the stock of these players in the hopes that there's some team out there that is crying, begging for a goalie, you know, and all of a sudden the Senators are trading them a first-round pick for Markstrom or something like that, right, before the deadline. Like, that's the only reason I could see that. And then you say, hey, we've got the last 25 games of the season kind of reserved for Wolf with low expectations, right? He can come in, play his game, get his footing, go there, but don't put the expectations on the kid.
That's not a bad strategy.
Although good management in Calgary...
You took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say exactly that. I was like, that's a good strategy, but we've been let down by how this team has managed its assets in the past. So I don't know if I would take for granted that they're going to do the right thing in this scenario.
Yeah, no, just be mediocre enough that you don't want to rebuild. You just want to stay the same. Don't ever change. Okay, Calgary. Did we look ahead? Nope. Looks like tomorrow night they've got the Dallas Stars, so that's unfortunate. And then this weekend, Canucks on a Saturday night, and then they're off to about Tuesday, where they get the Wild. So, cool. A couple Saturdays in a row, though. Holy smokes. I was going to look ahead, see if I could maybe get some Flames tickets at some point. The next 3 Saturdays are loaded here in Calgary, so... What are, like...
What are prices at right now? Like, are prices out of the world?
I don't think so. Like, during the week, I've heard they're pretty cheap. And actually, if you're willing to go after the game starts, like go mid-second or mid-first, or even just for the second and third, like you can get like lower bowl for $10 kind of thing. Guys are trying to flip tickets, so like maybe a big brain strategy if you just want to go watch a little cheap hockey one night.
Honestly, I just want 2 beers that are going to get me fucked up than more than 2 beers should, and a pocket dog. That's kind of my idea of a good night these days.
Heyo, who doesn't like a pocket dog? Speaking of pocket dogs, we got Puck Doku. It's a reach. All right, Grant, you got your second guess on the board. 2% on the day. Lovely guess.
Okay, let me go back to this one, because I was looking at Northwest Division teams, and you were correct. It was the Minnesota Wild. Close you. Okay, so this is one I've been thinking about. I know Steve Smith played for the Oilers. I know Steve Smith played for the Flames, but I don't know if Steve Smith played for the Flames when Mike Keenan was the coach. And this is kind of the struggle that I'm having right now, because I feel like Steve Smith, if this one does check out, is probably going to be a little lower on the totem pole. You know what? Fuck it. Let's just do it. So, Oilers played for Mike Keenan, Steve Smith.
Steve SM, and you want, there's 2, would you like the Steve Smith 1984 to 2001 or the Steve Smith 1981 to 1989? You want the 2001 version, right?
I believe so. I would assume so.
Okay, cool. 1%! Son of a gun. All right, so Grant's under me with 2 guesses. All right, I need to soliloquize. Grant does it so eloquently. I'm just more of a host role. I never really talk during these segments. I never know what to say. I love me some video games. Retro video games specifically. Oh boy, could I get my way into that. And like on a Saturday morning, there's nothing better than busting out my old systems like the Ataris or the Amigas. I might even do a Commodore 64. And that's why I'm going to go center square. I believe Mike Commodore played for Tampa Bay and Columbus. And I'm hoping no one else in the world knows that, because I would like a low percentage on Mike Commodore. 3%. Ooh, all right. I'm still in it.
We are, neck and neck here. 4%, although you could frame this as I'm over double. That would be like misplaying the situation. 4% is nothing. Like, this is just like, especially if I bung up the next pick.
Oh, yeah.
Damn.
This is it. A miss does count. I think we've decided on a 50. So, this is it. A couple squares left on the board. I don't know. I don't know if we have anything. We'll see. A lot of pressure on Grant for the next round. Unlike there was on the Calgary Flames. I think we could maybe got to scroll up a little bit, though. Maybe to the teens, at least, before the next team pops up. So, we're going to go past Pittsburgh. The Devils are 21. Okay. They thought they would be better. Tampa Bay at 13, and the Toronto Maple Leafs at 12. So we got past the teen years, back to the dirty 12s. Dirty dozens? I don't know. To the Toronto Maple Leafs. What's going on with the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Only take that I have, because again, I haven't been... the closest I paid attention to this team, I bet on them to go to a shootout against Florida earlier in the week. And you know what? Didn't regret that pick. But I paired it... that was last night. And I actually bet it with Oilers in regulation like an idiot, because I thought, hey, there's no way that a team's going to a shootout in back-to-back nights. Anyways, neither here nor there. Toronto Maple Leafs, they are underperforming. I don't know what's going on with and maybe this is where you could chime in. You probably watch more Leafs games than I do. Have they changed their system, or are teams just catching up to them? Because they are not the dominant analytics team that we've expected them to be from years past.
I think we're just seeing the cap crunch a little bit on this squad, where we're seeing kind of the lack of scoring depth, right? The big guns haven't come out in the last couple games. We haven't seen, I don't think, at least multiple, maybe 1 or 2 points kind of thing, but nothing kind of crazy in the last few affairs. And then defensively, these guys are just beaten up. Like John Klingberg, their big signing off the summer, I think he's already hurt, might be done for the season. They're talking about LTIR with him, although because they've kind of skirted around that issue in the past with the Matt Murrays, and they're kind of getting they're kind of a little suspect in that category. Some more work needs to be done, but potentially one of the big additions from the summer is gone in Klingberg, right? So they're kind of just tooth and nails. I think Giordano got hurt last night against Florida, so they're pulling out mid-levels, right? Like Connor Timmins is the name you're getting thrown around. So we're just kind of seeing that, right? Just getting beaten up on the back end, and organizationally their depth at D was bad. So a couple injuries. What are you going to do, right? So that's definitely kind of hurting them.
I will say this, and again, tip of the cap to Mick, because he's always talking about these things. I'm like, what the fuck? Get off the bath salts, Mick. But last year he was singing Giordano's praises and went in the playoffs about what a stellar defenseman this guy was. Every time I've turned on the Leafs and tuned in this year, I've been blown away at the decision Mark Giordano makes. For a guy who's that old and still playing at an elite level, I don't know if he's just like thinking differently to compensate for a slower body, but he doesn't even look that slow on the ice. Kudos to that guy, man. Like, to be around this long and be a difference maker. Could you imagine where the Leafs would be without Mark Giordano?
It'd be like Phil Kessel, JVR, Tyler Bozak level, right? Where you've got kind of like your big guns on one line, and that's about it, right? So you're like skirting into like wild card zones. Like I honestly think that could be positional spots, right? So the difference between like the first wild card and like the second in the Pacific or in the Atlantic that they've kind of been comfortable with, like could be a guy like that, just a stalwart on the back end. So
couldn't agree more. I think Giordano is a difference maker for this Leafs team, and I think without them, I would hazard a guess that we would be talking about 5 teams in the bottom 10.
Yeah.
I think that he's that valuable to this team on their back end right now.
Coming into the season, though, we had this conversation where like their defense is very questionable, and like they don't have a lot of great depth, and I don't. Klingberg was the answer, right? Mentioning that their forwards between the Marners and the Matthews do provide quite a bit of defensive help, right? Like that's the one thing for the forward group has, is they're a little bit more sure defensively. So I don't know. Potentially they can provide a little bit of help in the meantime, or in the meanwhile, just until they get healthy, right? So, and I guess the Klingberg situation is something to just keep an eye on, right? So if you are looking around, I don't know, Google his name once in a while, Twitter, search him out on Twitter, because that extra $4 million in the cap coming available for the Leafs could lead to bigger moves, right? So something to keep your eye on. They've got, I think since we last spoke, they came back from Sweden, the Global Series, where they won both those affairs. They had a bit of a stinker to Chicago last Friday. Another stinker next night to the Penguins, beat Florida. They've got Seattle tomorrow night, and then a big bad Bruin matchup on Saturday, and then a little bit of a break until Thursday. So we'll probably talk almost before the next Leafs play. So 2 games there. That Saturday game could be kind of big. So we'll see.
I pointed this out in an article earlier, but it's worth mentioning on the podcast too. Leafs, what a fucking travel schedule these guys have had. They went from Europe, so Toronto to Europe, and then it was like Chicago. Was it Philadelphia? What was the other?
Yeah, Pittsburgh. Yeah,
Pittsburgh. Like that's, and then back home. Like that's a hell of a jaunt, man.
And like to all their credit, I threw a bunch of money on the Blackhawk game, being like, this is a letdown game. They're coming back from this big, like, you want to talk about emotional highs? Going to Sweden, Nylander having back-to-back game winners, right? Being the hometown hero, playing in front of grandma, Matt Sundin coming out saying how much he loves this team. I imagine that was a very emotionally draining trip. So having a couple letdowns, I'm not surprised by. Like I'm looking at the Chicago Pittsburgh game and being like, don't worry about that. That just happens, right? Travel can be tough. Oh, but they're professional. Again, it could still be tough. The emotions were high. We'll see how they level off, right? And can they overcome the bit of an injury bug that they picked up?
I'm going to drag on here because I got nothing to talk about the next two teams. But William Nylander, again, I mentioned this in an article earlier. He is plus 3,600 to win the Hart Trophy. And I know that he's a long shot. But there's something to be said about playing in a contract year. We always see team or players do this. They kind of amp up. This is what I'm worth. Happens all the time. He's leading the Leafs in scoring. He is, I want to say, top 10 in scoring.
He's a top 10 forward easily. Like, name 10 other guys you'd rather have over him, right? Like, I don't know if he could do it.
And he had that 18 game point streak earlier in the year. Like, he's checking a lot of boxes for hockey writers to be like, you know what? This guy is the best player on the Leafs this year. Mm-hmm. And if they start performing well as a team, William Nylander is going to move closer to, I think, to the front of the conversation for MVP. Right now at plus 3,600, I was like, you know what? Yes, I am going to just dabble in this because I think that this is one of those plus EV bets. I don't know if he can do this for 82 games or if he gets enough credit at the end of the year to like usurp McDavid or pass like even a McKinnon or somebody on the depth chart or on the Hart depth chart, we'll call it, Hart Futures Board, whatever you want to call it. William Nylander not getting enough credit, plus 3,600 to win a Hart Trophy, absurd. This guy's worth so much more than that.
Yeah, he's playing incredible. Now, in the past, we've also seen incredible streaks from Nylander, and the big thing is not health, can he keep it up, but does he care enough, right? So, yeah, he had a big game in front of grandma in Sweden, and he kind of knew it was coming. The next month or so will be telling, right? Probably into like the January season. Does he have a really quiet December? Because he's just kind of like, no, I'm checking out. I'm Willie Nylander. I dress cool. People like me. We'll see. So that is something to watch, right? For sure. Can he keep it up? I don't know. That's what she said.
So I can't let you glaze past that. William Nylander, easily, he's a modern day Henrik Lundqvist. Do you remember like Hank back in the day? He was always fucking spiffy. William Nylander, every time we walk through the rink, I'm like, yes, like fucking like, oh.
Yeah, he gets it. He got it. He gets the flowing hair. Yeah, he's got that Bryce Harper charm. You just can't help but being like, hello. All right. Going up the standings. Where did the next team pop up? Red Wings, Hurricanes, and at 9th, still in the top 10, we got the Ville Helone-led Winnipeg Jets. Silent. They're on they had a bit of a win streak here. They won 5 games. They were flying last time we were talking. And then, other than losing the Predators and the Stars the last 2 games, a little bit quieter, but...
yeah. This team has turned it around. It's like a Jekyll and Hyde from the early part of the campaign when you and I were talking about what a shit show this team was. You go to Japan, maybe that was it. Maybe you going to Japan was the butterfly flap that this team needed to just like, things are right again.
I did tell a guy that looked like Mark Scheifele to go fuck himself in the Vancouver airport. Maybe he took it personally. I'll show you.
Could you imagine trying to fight the entire Winnipeg Jets team for somebody bumping him in line?
Well,
I was here first.
I couldn't fight them all. Ville Helona would you can't touch a guy like that. So
I still like the fantasy. Is probably much better than how it actually played out. I would like to see you try and fight the entire Winnipeg Jets team. You know, like tables, ladders, chairs match, something classic that's going to be even more memorable.
All right, hold on. I completely forgot about those extensions. They gave $8.5 million to Mark Scheifele at age 30? Oh my God.
My God.
I don't even want to look how old Hellebuck is. Like, do I want to know? Also 30?
Yeah, he's going to say they're
Oh
the exact same
my.
age. Because, anyways.
All right.
And we talked about this earlier in the year. This is it for this team. This is like, you have extracted maximum value early on in these guys' career. You're rewarding them for longevity, but you're tanking your own chances along the way. And I know the fucking argument everybody always makes is, oh, the cap's going to go up eventually. It hasn't. It's gone up fucking $3 million over the last 10 years. Guess what? The cap's probably not going up. I don't know if it's going to be like a gold crisis, World War III, maybe the American dollar tanks. I don't know. But stop telling me that in 8 years this isn't going to matter because the cap's going to be $150 million and everybody's going to be shitting pennies. Like, no. These are bad long-term signings for guys late in their careers.
Yeah, I don't really have much else about the Jets. They just don't hit my radar. They should. They were fun. They were definitely Canada Puck's team a couple years ago. I don't know where they lost us, but it was somewhere around like the Patrick Laine trade, I think, where everyone kind of checked out. So
I'm going to take it one step further. Who was that defenseman that we loved so much that ended up in Vancouver?
Tucker Poolman.
Tucker Poolman. It was the Tucker Poolman deal for me that just like soured.
Is Tucker like that? That's a Puck Doku pick if I remember. Let's see. The Jets. It looks like they've got the Oilers tomorrow night, and then this weekend they've got the lowly Blackhawks, and then Monday morning they've got probably a pretty good matchup against the Hurricanes. So,
well, we'll see how it all plays out. The way they're playing, I think we're finally going to get a Winnipeg playoff team. And who knows, maybe, fingers crossed, this is the year that it all comes together and we get to pee on the Forks. Hopefully.
Yeah. That means, though, we're done 6 teams. There's only one team left. They'll be crowned Canada Puck champion. We got to find out who the Canada Puck Doku champion is here. As Grant gives you his final guess. He's 3%. I have 7%. One guess left.
Okay, so I'm going to be forthcoming with this because I have 3 names.
Okay.
Part of me doesn't want to run train on Oilers because that seems a little disingenuous.
Sure.
But I have a name that I think would perform really well there. But there's also a Columbus-Pittsburgh name where I'm just like, were you looking at either of those squares? Because you could probably talk me out of this.
Do I? No, I'm good. I don't want either of those. So I don't know if I know an Oiler and a Canuck. So
I know.
I also don't know who Mike Keenan is. So that whole category, I'm like,
he would have been canceled in the '80s if social media was a thing. Like he's one of those hard-nosed dick coaches. Okay, so I'm gonna say this: Pittsburgh and Columbus. You might not remember, but Jeff Carter played in Columbus. And I'm not sure how many people on the internet might remember that. So considering his longevity with the Penguins, I'm a little concerned that's going to be like a 20%er, and I don't want to do that. I was thinking Ethan Bear. Ethan Bear is a little-known player where it's like, yeah, he spent time with the Oilers and Canucks, but at the same time, relatively common name. Like, he's gained popularity. He's an Indigenous kid. He's, done a lot of great things. But one name that I think fits this square best, and I'm pretty sure he played in Vancouver, Raffi Torres. I think Raffi Torres is a guy who's going to fly under the radar. And for the sake of winning, I'm going to have to say Raffi Torres.
Raffi Torres for the win. 2%! So I don't have to guess. Grant 5%. I have 7%. That's unfortunate. Congratulations.
I do want to hear your guess.
My guess. That's a shame. Like, I kind of feel like I almost need to swing for the fences. Well, it doesn't actually matter. I can just pick whoever, right? Yeah, I probably would have went like a Jack Johnson or something. Pittsburgh, Columbus. Let's go with that. Or Luke Shen. I feel like Luke Shen was a Bolt and a Canuck, right? but that's probably like a bit more well known. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Don't let me deter you. Whatever you want to do, but
Let's go.
Luke Shen, that's a fucking name.
All right, Jack Johnson, 16%. 23%. So Grant wins by 19%. We want to see Luke Shen.
Luke Shen. I want to see what that guy's worth.
18%.
What?
All right. And then can we finish out our Puck Doku square? We got 2 more guesses. Played for Mike Keenan.
Let me dwell on this for a little bit.
Okay. All right.
Because I know Mike Keenan coached the Flames. I think he had stints with the Rangers too, Panthers. Okay. So, anyways, I'll see if I can come up with some names.
Okay. All right. So we'll click out of that square. And then we got to go back to our standings. Scroll up. See if we can find the still flying high. Oh boy, 4th from the top. Vancouver Canucks.
Oh, you know what? Mike Keenan actually coached for the Canucks too.
Oh.
I believe.
Does that help? No. Maybe there was a Sutter, Brendan Sutter? I don't know.
Just guess one of the fucking dozens of Sutters.
Just
doesn't matter.
Throw the name Sutter out there. Vancouver Canucks still at top. What have they done? Since last week, they've lost to the Kraken, beat the Sharks. Oh, wow. Lost to the Avs, beat the Kraken, lost to the Sharks. That's embarrassing. And then beat the Ducks. Sounds like a lovely 2 weeks.
Vancouver is not the team that everybody thinks they are. I just have to say that out loud. I know that we've said it out loud on the podcast before, but it bears repeating. Because this team is getting a lot of credit, and maybe some of it's deserved because they are winning hockey games. They're obviously champions of the barren land that is Canada, but I just don't think that this team is as good as people are making them out to be. And I'll point to analytics that support that they're not that great. You can point to their schedule because they haven't really had a gauntlet of opponents to run through.
No, they're playing the Pacific Division.
And not even like the cream of the crop of the Pacific Division.
No, they played
like the low end of the Pacific.
They're playing the Sharks for the 4th time this season. Congratulations. You beat the Sharks 3 times.
Well, you don't have to throw that in my face, you dick.
Well, I mean, some teams lose to the Sharks 3 times, but, you know.
So anyways, we'll see where this team ends up in the standings. Like I said, sometimes these teams just outperform their metrics, and maybe this is the Canucks just outperforming because they do deserve some credit for the lackluster, or the difference from what we saw last year to where they ended up. But
if you just look even their last 10, right, they're already 5-5. So I think that early streak we saw this earlier this season, right, they're just playing 500 hockey, right? So they haven't done anything really special in the last 10 games or so, and that's probably closer where this team is. Now, they had a great first 20 games. Does that get you into the postseason, right? Can you ride that hot streak and just kind of like tough it out? Maybe? I don't know.
The one thing that it's when you get like 10 games above 500 early in the season, guess what? All you need to do is play 500, and you're probably making the playoffs. Or at least you're knocking on the door.
I feel like a couple teams have cooled down too, right? Like between the Bruins, they're getting closer to that 500 mark. They're not as that high highs. And then Vegas too is quieted down quite a bit, even though I think they went something like 12, 13 games without losing or something to start the year. So
at the end of the season, we'll probably be talking about these teams all fighting for the same 3 playoff spots. But the one thing that I did want to bring up with the Canucks, kind of as a tangent to the Canucks, we'll say, but this year's outdoor classic, or I can't even remember all the fucking goofy marketing the NHL does. One of the outdoor games is Seattle versus Vegas. 2 expansion teams. It's in Seattle. Do you think that's kind of a slap in the Canucks' face to be like, actually, you've been around longer with a more loyal fan base in a Canadian part of the country, but actually, fuck you, Seattle gets one first?
No, I think that's exactly what the Canucks deserve, so.
That slap in the face.
Yeah, just to be kind of forgotten, right? So you're like, wow, look at all these great teams at the top. We've got the Knights and the Rangers and the Bruins. Oh, there's the Avs and the Kings. You just brush over them and just, like, go about your life and don't worry about it.
So this is just like a classic Gary Bettman cock slap where it's like, I'm going to do this because I can.
Yeah, well, for a while there, too, like the points leaders, I think all 5 of them were Vancouver Canucks. So somewhere to me that says that they're riding the score up on some lowly teams, and that's probably not sustainable.
That's an interesting perspective. Yeah, I didn't know they were all I didn't know that they had that many high scorers. I don't even think I could name you 5 fucking forwards on that team.
JT Miller, but only because you told me about him last time, and I remembered.
Elias Pettersson. Petey deserves some love.
I think Brock Besser has like the most goals in the league too, or something like that. So,
who was that guy they traded? It was like the equivalent. It was like Besser 2.0. He went to the Islanders, I think, last year. Was it the Islanders?
Bo Horvat.
That's who it is. Yeah.
Cool.
Anyways. We've wasted more time than I thought we would talking about the Vancouver Canucks.
That's it. Puck Doku. Any more guesses of the last two?
One quick one I had. Oh God, it was. Let me pull it up here. I connected a dot when it was played for Vancouver. Never mind, it's not even going to fit.
Okay.
I was going to say Todd Bertuzzi, but I don't think that.
I don't think he hits any of those.
Maybe I'm even wrong for Mike Keenan. I think Mike Keenan coached in Vancouver.
Okay.
Anyways, no, I got nothing.
All right, yeah, I got nothing. I don't even know who the guy is, so that doesn't get us very far. What do we want to do for our last part here? I guess we want to go, like, scores? Maybe go by day? So, Grant won. What is his grand prize? He gets to pick which games he wants. We're going to do 7 games, bring them up, talk about them, give picks, and keep tabs. I think last week, Grant, with the bonus game, went 3-1, and I went 1-2, which is unfortunate. Even though I kind of feel like maybe I gave the wrong game, because I have Minnesota Wild for some reason beating the Senators, and I definitely meant to say the Senators were going to beat the Wild. But I will take that. I will own that loss. So, Grant, you're up 3-1 to my 1-2, and you get the extra bonus game today. So, which 3 future games that are in the schedule the next couple days do you want to discuss?
I'm not pulling any punches with the first one. Kind of glossed over a little bit, but Oilers are playing the Jets tomorrow night, and Oilers open as short road favorites. I don't get it I don't get that this team, I don't think that this team deserves to be road favorites. Maybe there was a time last year when you're like, yes, 100% this team should be favorites on, 7 out of 8 games they play, but that's not the case this year. So Winnipeg at plus money as a home underdog, the way they're playing, it just feels like it's the right side to be on. So I think Winnipeg just I don't want to say walks away with it, but I think that they do outclass the Edmonton Oilers on home ice tomorrow.
Okay, all right. That's I like that call. That makes sense. Jets are playing good hockey. We'll see. Can they now? The Oilers, I don't know. Are there scoring woes? Are they just going to kind of outscore the competition like they have in the past? Maybe. For myself, I like. Is it tomorrow night's affair or is it Saturday? It is also. I'm sticking around tomorrow night. I'm also picking a Canadian team. Vegas Golden Knights, they rolled into Calgary, they rolled into Edmonton, had back-to-back shootout losses. Man, you better believe that a squad that's this good, it's going to be pissed off. So we have 2 top 4 teams going up against each other. I like the Knights. I kind of think that a good team isn't going to stumble 3 times. It's hard to kind of go on a road trip. I know it is the end of it, but hopefully the guys are a little bit more motivated. And I do like the Vegas overcoming the Canucks tomorrow night. Probably not a shootout. I probably wouldn't put money on a shootout. That's impossible. 3 in a row? Come on.
That's the shine. That's the Canada Puck shine. These guys are going to go on and play like their next 5 games in a shootout or overtime.
That's it. That's all they could do. So
I don't hate that pick. I think, again, right side to be on. We'll see how it all plays out, though.
There you
go. I get next one. We'll go on to the next day. And Friday night, it's a quiet Friday night in the NHL.
It is.
Only 2 games, one of which features the Ottawa Senators versus the Columbus Blue Jackets. Prior to this, getting humbled on home ice by the Panthers, and then also a loss to the Islanders, Sens had won 4 or 5, starting to produce a little bit. And I think they're going to come out a little fiery after Monday night's debacle. So I am betting Ottawa is ready to play and just overmatching a Columbus team that just, for whatever reason, can't get anything done. So Ottawa Senators, Columbus Blue Jackets. Maybe this is the start of the climb up for Ottawa Senators.
There we go. Let's go. One point, and you're ahead of the Oilers. So I'm going to scroll ahead to the Saturday. I was already checking out the Saturday Night Affair. I did mention it earlier. We got a big matchup between the big bad Bruins and the lowly little Leafs, and I think that narrative's going to stay. We're seeing the Bruins, who are a little bit healthier, especially in the back end than the Leafs are, and I don't know. I don't know if Toronto right now has kind of just the chutzpah to step up and kind of beat the lead, one of the better teams in the Bruins. It'll be a good matchup, and I think I'm just going to have to stick with my emotional hedge. It's the Leafs on a Saturday night. They're going to let you down. So even though it might be closer on paper than, or in real life than it may look on paper at the moment, I'm going to take the Bruins over the Maple Leafs, in which I think is probably a pretty big division rival, and the Leafs should probably step up, but they don't. You know they don't.
Or they'll have a lead and things will go sideways.
Yeah, something embarrassing will happen. I get all these messages of people talking to me, and I'll be like, I'm so popular. Great. I love my life.
Oh, the one time a year I get text messages is when the Leafs blow it against the Bruins again.
Yeah, good times. Yay.
Well, from one original six matchup to the next, because I'm also looking at a game on Saturday, and that is the Montreal Canadiens hosting the Detroit Red Wings. Detroit, kind of, I'm not going to say a challenging schedule, but a hard schedule to overcome. They are in New York tonight. They play Chicago tomorrow, and then it's Montreal on Saturday. All three road games. I know that it's Eastern Seaboard, and travel isn't as bad as trying to get between places in the western part of the countries, but it's travel nonetheless, and playing on the road on a condensed schedule like that seems a little unfavorable. Plus, when we factor in, Habs have been good, and they always show up on Saturday nights.
Yep.
And if they're going to win, if they're going to catch an opponent off guard, it's going to be at home. So I think Montreal gets the better of Detroit on Saturday night.
Solid. Awesome. Well, with that, I think I've already picked, look at that, all Canadian teams. How cute am I? And I might be looking for, is that a Saturday night game? I should have wrote down what day those were. I need to touch on it because we haven't talked about it, and it's hilarious to me, and I think that maybe there is justice in the universe. So I believe at 1 o'clock our time, 3 p.m. Eastern, earlier in the day, you could see the lowly Blackhawks, as mentioned, playing the Winnipeg Jets. I do think the Jets are victorious in this affair. I'll throw that out there. But I mean, the Connor Bedard situation with Corey Perry is the most hilarious outcome for this whole, right? Like, that is the karma is supposed to be fair and just and make things right in the world, and everything's supposed to come full circle. Were the Blackhawks anyway disciplined against their sexual abuse scandal? No, they won cup after cup, and we talk about them, we parade them, we pretend like they're this glorious organization that can do nothing wrong. And how does Gary Bettman reward them when finally these allegations come to light? He probably gives them Connor Bedard, some generational talent, and we're sitting there and saying, how is this fair? How is this fair? Well, you know how the universe comes back around and screws you in the end? When the Chicago Blackhawks and Kyle Davidson. There we go. Got there. Best GM. He had the best summer. Absolutely the best summer. He killed it. He got Connor Bedard. He brought in a father figure in Corey Perry. Little did he know that he literally brought in a father figure for Connor Bedard. Reports this week is Corey Perry might have had a little hoochie-coochie with Bedard's mommy on some road trip, and now he's been terminated from the team. So Corey Perry finds himself a free agent and potential future father to a generational talent in Connor Bedard. So I couldn't be happier for the lovely, lovely family.
I tweeted about this yesterday, and I was so proud of myself because my hashtag, I felt like it was from something about, Blackhawks doing much like your musings. But how could the Blackhawks bung this up, and how could karma come back and get them? Well, karma comes back and fucks your best player's mom in a hotel room is the best way to sum it up. But the hashtag from father figure to stepdad, Corey Perry. Could you imagine Connor Perry II coming up to play, like, first-round draft pick of Chicago in 18 years. That is the full circle moment that I hope I get to witness in my life.
Yes. Oh. Yeah, that was a sweet one. We needed that. Thank you.
You covered up some fucking, like, heinous things. Blackhawks tried to cover it up, and they tried to fucking wipe their hands clean of it. And then you axe a guy for consensual sex? Like, don't tell me that's not a little backwards.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, they like their players to be a little bit more drunken and rapey, I think. So.
Oh, God. Rapey Blackhawks.
Rapey Blackhawks. All right, Grant. Final pick of the night goes to you. You got an extra pick. Doesn't count against the schedule, so swing for the fences, my friend.
This game's not going to get the love that it deserves. Sunday night at 6 o'clock, there's going to be an LA Kings team hosting a Colorado Avalanche team. This could be a preview of the Western Conference Final. If I didn't have, an emotional attachment to the Oilers, it would probably be the Western Conference Final that I would be rooting for, the Kings versus Avs. But you're playing on Sunday night. I don't even know who the Sunday night team in the NHL is this year, or in the NFL is this week. But no one's going to be paying attention. It's going to be a full day of NFL action. There's going to be a Sunday nighter. There's going to be a few hockey games. This is going to fall off everybody's radar. But I promise you it's going to be worth tuning in. Kings versus Avs, appointment viewing. But I do like the Kings. I suspect that it's going to be close to a pick'em, pricing-wise. But I think the Kings are the team, the superior team, and on home ice, I think it's going to go in their favor. So Kings on Sunday night, they defeat the Avs.
It's weird that without no planning, we kind of went sequentially through all the games. It was kind of cute, touching on a lot of Canadian teams, and just like you did 2 weeks ago, when you called New York Rangers at the Devils to be one of the biggest games of the weekend. I think he knocked it out of the park again. I think that's the perfect nightcap on the weekend of hockey. Avs, Kings, both teams playing really well right now. And yeah, if you want to watch good hockey, that's probably what you should be checking out on Sunday night.
Yes, tune in.
Solid.
You won't because there's an NFL game on. But if you had a second TV, make sure it's on the Kings Avs.
There you go. Sweet. Awesome. That was the last pick on my list, so I'm glad you got to that. Read my mind.
But I think that concludes the segment portion of the show, does it not?
That is it. Yeah, we are done. We'll kind of, hopefully you like that, kind of give you a look ahead, kind of some ideas where to put your money this weekend. I think there's only one thing left for us to do before we say goodbye.
And that is the Babe of the Week. The Canada Puck Podcast would not be the Canada Puck Podcast without our Babe of the Week. A professional hockey player, Emily Rickwood is her name. Emily, as you would spell it, EMILY .Rickwood. That is RICK, wood as in hard penis. Fancies herself Canadian, currently professional hockey player for Ikis Hockey in Sweden. But Emily Rickwood loves her beach life, loves her hockey life, and I love being a follower of all the things Emily Rickwood. She is our Babe of the Week.
Showing. Awesome. Excellent. Good show. And I guess the only thing, we can't leave the listeners on hold anymore, on the hook. They want to know. Top 3 Lady Gaga song, Grant. So you can go first. Are we allowed to double up here? I think so. Yeah. For myself, number 3, I'm going to do Poker Face, absolute classic. Number 2, you have to do Just Dance. That's also a banger. And then my personal favorite, near deep in my heart, Alejandro. I love you, Alejandro.
Okay, so yes, Poker Face was on my list. I'm raking my brain right now. She had that song. I was going to make you dress up as it. I was going to be
Born This Way? Like the meat dress?
Nah.
No?
Let me just look here.
All right.
It was after she kind of like came. It was after her hiatus. Let me just go to singles here. I'm fucking the worst at this. Joanne.
Oh.
It was off Joanne, and it was called Million Reasons.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But yeah, top one. So it was, Poker Face, Million Reasons, and then top for me is Just Dance. It's the one that she deserves all the credit in the world for. So
solid, cool. So with that, that's a podcast. I think that's it. I think we say party on, Grants.
Party on, Mick. We'll see everybody next week.